Hi there, I'm Ken. About 6 years ago, when my great granddaughter Ruby was 6 years old, she asked me to write a story for her where she was a princess who was rescued by a prince who at that time was her boyfriend. Now, I'd never written a story before, but I'd been retired 16 years at that time and I had plenty of time, nothing else to do, so I decided to write a story for her. And I wrote a story called Princess Ruby and the Magic Book. Since that time, I've written perhaps 60 or 70 stories. Some of them about the Magic Book, others about other things. And none of these stories have been published. So you might ask me, why do I bother writing them? Well, there are three reasons really. First of all, I like writing them. It gives me something to do, and I quite enjoy it. Secondly, Ruby kept coming along every now and again and asked me to write more stories with different friends in them, which I did. And thirdly, I am a volunteer at a local school where I listen to kids read, and so I write stories for them where they can read to me. Some of these stories I've turned into small plays so that two or three of them can read to me at the same time, and they seem to like that. So that's why I like writing stories. This story I'm going to read today is the latest of my stories, and it's about a dog who has some unusual adventures. So I hope you like it. If you are interested in my other stories, which are on YouTube, they're all on my YouTube site, Kenneth Mallison. So here we go, my story. This is one of many stories I have written for children. Most of these stories appear on my YouTube website, Kenneth Mallison. This one is called The Extraordinary Adventures of an Ordinary Dog, and it's written by me, Ken Mallison. There are three chapters, or three adventures: Lost in the Wilderness, Buddy the Hero, Buddy in Trouble. Buddy is a golden retriever. He is an ordinary dog living in an ordinary town in Canada. Buddy has a nice, pleasant life with people who love him and who he loves. Exciting things never happen to Buddy. Well, almost never. There were a few times when, but wait, let Buddy tell you himself. Chapter 1. Lost in the Wilderness. Where am I? What happened? I looked around trying to find something familiar, but everything seemed strange to me. I closed my eyes and tried desperately to remember what had happened. Slowly, I began to remember. I remembered my owners, Jim and Susan, putting boxes into the van. Jim had said, "That's all done now, Susan. We can set off. It's a long journey to Wood Buffalo. Hop in, Buddy." I had heard them talking about the journey the night before. Jim had said it was 400 miles. It would take over 11 hours to get there from our place in Yellowknife. My memory was returning now. I remembered the journey. It had been uneventful, but the scenery was beautiful as we drove around the lake. Then, suddenly, at the bend in the road, the car had got out of control. It had toppled over, and I had been thrown out and into a ditch. I lost consciousness. Then I couldn't remember anything. I must have wandered into the forest and mountains. I had no idea where I was, or how many days or weeks I'd been wandering. I only knew how to try to get home to Yellowknife. But which way was home? I looked left, and then right, wondering which way to go. Some sense told me to go left, so I set off in that direction. I was tired and hungry. There was plenty of water, but the only food I could see was berries. I thought about the wonderful food Jim gave me and hoped they were both safe and well. The thought of Jim and Susan made me more determined to get home. As I turned a bend, I saw a beaver busily gnawing through a tree trunk. "Hello," I said. "I'm Buddy. Can you tell me how to get to Yellowknife? I'm lost, and I want to get home." The beaver stopped for a moment and replied, "I'm Bob. I can't stop my work. I'm building a dam across the stream, and I want to finish it. I've never heard of Yellowknife, so I can't help you. If you find the wise owl, he will know." "Where can I find the wise owl?" I asked. The beaver replied, "You'll have to cross the river and go over the mountains. Someone there will know where he is." I set off to cross the river, but when I reached it, I saw that it was very wide. I wondered if I would be able to cross it. Just then, Bob appeared at my side. He said, "I'm sorry I was rude to you before. I will help you across the river. Just hang on to me and I will swim across." Bob was a very strong swimmer, and we soon crossed the river. I said, "Thank you for helping me, Bob. It was very good of you to stop your work to help me. I hope you soon finish your dam." Then I set off to find the wise owl. I went through a forest and towards the mountains, looking for the wise old owl, and I found a large moose who looked friendly. "Excuse me," I said. "I'm trying to find the wise owl. Do you know where he is?" The moose replied, "The last time I saw him, he was heading towards a big lake. If you go that way, we'll find him. It's early now, so just keep the sun in your right-hand side. You'll be fine. Good luck." I thanked the moose and set off again. I seemed to have travelled for miles, trying to keep the sun on my right, but I knew that soon the sun would be above me, and I wasn't sure what to do then. I sat down beside an old tree trunk to rest when I heard a noise. I saw a big brown bear coming towards me. At first I was worried because he was very big and looked frightening, but soon I realised that he was friendly. "Hello," he said. "You look very tired and hungry. Can I help you?" I replied, "I'm trying to find the wise owl. I've been travelling for ages and I'm tired and really hungry. All I have to eat is berries and leaves." The bear said, "I can't help you, the wise owl, but I can get you some food. Follow me." He set off, and I followed him to a big tree that had a large hole in the side. "Stand back," said the bear as he put his huge paw into the hole. When he withdrew his paw, it was covered in sweet-smelling honey. "Let's go before the bears get angry," he said. And we went quickly back to the tree trunk, where he gave us some honey to eat. The honey was delicious, and I was soon feeling full and contented. "That was fantastic," I said. "Thanks a lot. But I must keep going to try to find one old owl." I said goodbye to the bear and once again set off. Now the sun was on my left side, and it was getting down. Soon it would be dark, and I would need to find a safe place to sleep. Suddenly, a rabbit came hopping towards me. "Hi," he said. "What are you doing here?" I explained that I was trying to get home, that I need to find the wise owl to help me. The rabbit told me that he had seen the wise owl that very day, a few miles away. "It's too late to go tonight," he said. "You'd better rest up here till the morning." I agreed and settled down in the grass. I was very tired and soon fell asleep. I dreamt about home. I was with Jim in the garden, playing ball together. It was a lovely dream, but I was awakened by the rabbit saying, "Wake up, if you go now, you will be able to catch up with the wise old owl." I set off again, trying to find the wise owl. I was excited now. Soon I would find him, and he would tell me how to get home. Suddenly I heard the hoot of an owl. I ran quickly towards the sound, and there on the branch of the tree I saw a very large owl. I asked him, "Are you the wise owl? Can you help me? I want to go home to Yellowknife." He replied, "Yes, I am the White Owl, and I will help you. Yellowknife is across the other side of this lake. You'll have to go round to the left and then keep going. Take care, though, there's a very nasty wolf around, and he will eat you if he finds you." I don't care about the wolf. I was nearly home, and nothing's going to stop me. I thanked the Wise Owl. "I will be careful, and thank you very much." I was feeling much better now that I knew I was going in the right direction for home. I circled around the lake and kept going. Suddenly I heard a large growl, and a ferocious wolf leapt out in front of me. He was a very scary sight, with long, sharp teeth, and he snarled menacingly at me and said, "I don't like strangers round here. I eat them." The wolf leapt towards me and sank his teeth into my leg. I cried in pain and tried to fight back with all my might. The wolf was surprised at my ferocity and let go. He stood back, snarling at me, and pounced again. There was a loud bang, and he dropped to the floor, dead. I looked around and saw a man with a gun coming towards me. He had shot the wolf. I was bleeding heavily from the wound on my leg. He picked me up gently and said, "You are safe now. Don't worry, I will take care of you." The man took me back to his cabin and cleaned and bandaged my wound. He gave me some wonderful, tasty food, the best food I'd eaten in ages. Gradually, I began to recover. The man washed me and cleaned my fur, and soon I was more like my old self. I was happy here, but I still yearned for my old home in Yellowknife. It's been a long time, I thought. Maybe they've forgotten all about me. Then, one day, the man came home and said, "Well, old fellow, I found out who you belong to. There are posters all over with your photo on them. Your owners have been searching for months and all but given up. They'll be coming to pick you up tomorrow." I was very excited by this news. They had not forgotten me. I found it hard to sleep that night, and next morning waited eagerly for the arrival of Jim and Susan. I heard the noise of a car stopping outside the cabin and ran to the window. There they were. Jim and Susan came into the room, and I ran excitedly towards them. Susan cradled me in her arms. "Oh, Buddy," she cried, "I'm so glad we found you. We searched everywhere after the accident, but couldn't find you. We thought you were dead, but now we can all go home together." Jim, Susan, and I went home to Yellowknife. It was great to be home. It had been a great adventure, but very scary at times. I settled on the rug in front of a roaring fire. I closed my eyes and thought, there's no place like home. Chapter 2. Buddy, the hero. I had been looking forward excitedly to today, as it was a special day. I ran round the room, wagging my tail furiously and barking. "Be quiet, Buddy," said Susan, but in a friendly way. I stopped barking and went to the window, standing with my paws on the window ledge. I was excited because Jim's sister Jean was visiting. She always made a fuss of me and brought me treats. It was over a year since Jean and her husband Tony had visited us. I saw the car draw around to drive. Tony got out and went round the car to the door to let Jean out. Jim and Susan opened the front door and went to welcome them, and I ran after them, barking a cheerful welcome. Jean always bent down and ruffled my fur with a cheerful, "Hello, Buddy." But this time she didn't. Jean was carrying a bundle of clothes in her arms, and instead of her usual loud, she said, "Get down, Buddy, get down." I didn't understand this. Had I done something wrong? Was Jean angry with me? It was very confusing, and Jim said, "Come on, Buddy, let's go to the house." We all went to the house, and I was even more confused when Jim and Susan seemed to be making a fuss of the bundle of clothes. Then Tony went back to the car and brought in a cot. Now I understood. It wasn't a bundle of clothes. It was a baby. This was even more exciting. I love children. Jenny next door always plays with me and takes me for walks. This was a bit different though, as this baby couldn't walk. I went over to the cot to get a closer look at the baby, but Jean said, "Don't go near the baby, buddy, keep away." I didn't understand and I went to my basket a bit downhearted. No one seemed interested in me. They're all too busy fussing over the baby. A few minutes later, Jim came over to me. He bent down and stroked my head and said, "Don't worry, buddy. We haven't forgotten you." He cheered me up and I snuggled down in my basket and went to sleep. The next day, Jenny came round to the house. She went to see the baby and made funny noises at him. I discovered the baby was a boy. Jenny had not forgotten me though and said, "Come on, buddy, let's go for a walk." I jumped out of my basket and went to fetch my lead. Jenny fastened the lead to my collar and we went to the park. We always had fun in the park, playing ball and chasing around. I liked to chase squirrels, although I knew they were too fast for me. We were playing near to the lake when I heard a cry. "Help! Please help me! My little girl has fallen into the lake and I can't swim." I saw a little girl in the water. She was thrusting her arms about and crying for her mum. Straight away I leapt into the water. I swam quickly to the girl and clamped my teeth around the collar of her coat. Then I swam to the shore of the lake, pulling the little girl behind me. Strong arms grabbed the girl and pulled her safely ashore. I scrambled onto the shore and shook the water off my coat. The girl's mother cuddled her daughter in her arm and then came up to me and said, "You are a wonderful dog. You saved my little girl. You are a hero." Quite a few people had rushed to the lake to see what was happening, and many of them came up to me and patted me, saying things like, "Good dog," and "Well done." I felt very proud. I was very glad that I had been able to save the little girl. When we got back home, Jenny rushed into the house and exclaimed, "Buddy is a hero. He jumped into the lake and saved the little girl from drowning." Jenny described how I had leapt into the lake and pulled the little girl to the shore. Everybody made a fuss of me, and even Jane told me what a good dog I was. The next day, Jim was reading his newspaper. "Look at this," he exclaimed. "Buddy is in the news. It says, 'Hero Dogs saves girl from drowning,' and tells how Buddy had jumped into the lake and pulled the girl to safety. It says they are giving Buddy a medal." Jim rubbed my head and said, "Well done, Buddy." Later that day, Jim, Susan, Jean and Tony were all in the garden, sitting under the shade and talking about a holiday they'd all been on together. I was lying down in my basket and the baby was asleep in his cot in the living room. Suddenly, I heard a scuffling noise and saw a movement near the back wall. I sat up and listened carefully. There it was again, the scuffling noise. Then I saw it. It was a rat, and it ran into the living room. I saw the rat going through the baby's cot, and I jumped up after it. There was a furious chase all around the room, and I chased the rat. A chair was knocked over, then a table, and then the cot was toppled and nearly threw the baby out. Luckily, it fell at an angle against the wall, so the baby was safe. All the noise woke the baby, and he started to cry loudly. I chased the rat behind the chair and finally caught it. I grabbed it, held it firm in my teeth and shook it till it fell to the floor, dead. The others had heard all the commotion, and the baby came screaming and came running into the room to find out what had happened. I came up from behind the chair, feeling very proud of myself. I saved the baby. Jean cried out, "Oh, my baby," and rushed to the cot to pick him up. Then she turned to me and said, "You naughty dog, Buddy, what have you done?" Jim took me by my collar and led me out of the room. "Stay here, Buddy," he commanded. I was very confused. Why was everyone angry with me when I saved the baby? Then I realized that they all thought I'd been trying to hurt the baby. Jean said to Jim, "I knew Buddy was jealous of the baby, but I never thought he would hurt him." Jim began to clear up the mess in the room, and when he moved the chair, he saw the dead rat. "Wait,"
he said. Look at this. He held up the dead rat by its tail to show them. But he wasn't trying to hurt the baby. He was saving it from this rat. After this, everything seemed to happen to me. Jim came in, stroked my head and said, "You are a good boy, buddy. I found the rat you killed. Come on back into the room." When I entered the room, Jean came up to me, put her arms behind my neck and said, "Buddy, I'm so sorry I thought you had hurt the baby. And thank you so much for raising that rat. I guess I've been ignoring you since you came, but I promise I won't anymore. You are my hero." Everyone made a fuss of me, and I thought, it's really nice to be a hero. Chapter 3. Buddy in Trouble. "Hello, Buddy," said Jenny. "Come round to our house. We have a visitor, and they've brought their dog, Butch, with them." I jumped eagerly out of my basket. A new friend. Wagging my tail, I followed Jenny around to her house, where Butch was playing in the garden. I ran up to meet him. Butch was a big dog, a Doberman. We sniffed around each other, as dogs do. I decided that we liked each other. We ran around the garden and had great fun chasing each other. After a while, though, I began to realise that Butch was a bit of a boaster. "This place is a bit dull," he said. "Our city is much bigger than Yarnard, and there's lots to do. Some things can be very scary, but I'm never scared. I can take care of myself. I guess nothing exciting ever happens around here." I don't like boasting, so I didn't mention the time I'd been lost in the wilderness or how I'd fought a vicious wolf. Jenny said, "I'm going inside for a while. Enjoy yourself, but stay in the garden." When Jenny was out of sight, Butch said, "Come on, let's go find some fun in town." I said, "We can't do that. Jenny told us to stay here, and Jim has always told me it's too dangerous in parts of the town." "Don't be a wimp," he said. "Just because you come from a small place like Yellowknife doesn't mean they say you have to be yellow." His words stung me, and although I knew it was wrong, I reluctantly agreed to go with him, and we ran off into the town. Suddenly a cat appeared in front of us. "Come on, you Butch, let's get him." She chased after the cat and I ran after him. The cat was too quick for us, and he scrambled up a lamppost, sat at the top, and seemed to laughing at us. I really did not like doing this. I wished I was back in the garden. But Bess kept saying, "Come on, buddy, don't be a softy." Then we saw a small puppy. He was much smaller than either of us. Butch turned to me and said, "Let's get him." We ran towards the puppy, who turned and ran away. We ran some distance, but luckily the puppy escaped us. I realised then we were in a particularly bad area of the town. Most of the buildings were closed and the streets were lined with rubbish. I guessed that this was an area called Chapeltown, and I remember Jim talking about it and saying it was not a safe place to be in. We turned round the corner and suddenly came face to face with a pack of very fierce-looking dogs. One of them was obviously the leader of the pack. He growled and snarled at us. "What are you doing here? This is our patch and no one else is allowed." I was pretty scared as they were all ferocious-looking dogs, but I thought, well, there are two of us. We are quite big, so we might stand a chance. But I was wrong. Butch had turned and run away, leaving me to face them alone. The pack of dogs started to move towards me, snarling, growling. I knew I didn't have a chance against them and looked around, desperate for a way out. And I saw it. There was a small hole in the wall of a nearby building. Maybe I could squeeze through that. I ran as fast as I could, with a pack of snarling dogs chasing me, and just managed to scramble through the hole. They clawed at the hole, trying to get to me, but luckily the hole was too small for them. Eventually they gave up and went away. I looked round the building. It was a deserted factory. It was very dirty and dusty, with old rusty machinery everywhere. Most of the windows were boarded up, and it was very gloomy, making it hard to see much. I started forward across the room to try to find a way out. when I heard a rustling sound behind me. I turned round and saw a pack of rats running towards me. There were too many of them for me to fight, so I ran away from them as fast as I could. The rats were gaining on me when suddenly the floor collapsed under me and I fell to the floor below. It was a long drop, and I yelped in pain. I felt my leg bend. My leg was very painful, but I knew I had to get away before the rats got to me. I limped as quickly as I could towards an open door. I breathed a sigh of relief when I found myself in the open air and started trying to find my way home. I was very dirty and bruised from the fall, and it took some time and my leg was very painful, but I eventually arrived at Jenny's house. Jenny saw me and rushed out to meet me. "Oh, buddy," she exclaimed, "what have you done to yourself? Come on, let's get you cleaned up." Jenny took me into her garden, washed me down with soap and water, and brushed my coat. Then she put a bandage around my injured paw. I felt much better then. I was very glad to be home. Then I saw Butch. "Where did you go?" I demanded. "Why did you leave me alone to face that pack of dogs?" Butch replied, "I want to get help." "Oh yeah, I believe you," I said sarcastically. I knew that Butch was just a loud-mouthed coward who boasted a lot, but I'd been too scared to stay with me. I was glad when it was time for Butch to go back home to the big city, and I never let him talk me into going out to the garden again. I was happy in my own surroundings and thought, Jim was right about that place. It is very dangerous. I'll stay close to home in future. The end.
Well, there we are. That was my latest story. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, perhaps you can look at my other stories on YouTube. They're only short stories, different stories. Also, other articles besides stories are on there. You might find them interesting. Bye for now.